We just wrapped up UFC Belgrade in Serbia. I thought it was a damn good card. The whole card was great. I mean, you could honestly say like, hey, were the fights mismatches? Probably, but it didn't match up the way that I think the UFC was anticipating it to match up. The ones from Serbia were supposed to be winning, not losing. And when it came down to it, man, the Serbians, they somewhat didn't get it done. Luckily for the main event, they got it done there. Rakic got it done as well. So, but look, that's what you want to see. You want to see the ones that are rising to the top, the ones that are stars, the ones that have a little bit of a name, making sure they're having success right there on the spot, in their home country. There's a lot of pressure. Let me just say that right now. You saw it on Medić's face at the end there. There's a lot of pressure that goes into going back to your country if you weren't living there at the time because you were training other places to get some better training. It's very difficult. I use this experience for myself as well. When I was younger, my first fight in California was not an MMA fight. It was kickboxing. And I just got out of jail doing 6 months in jail. I came back. And then as I started, oh, my camera's messed up. Your camera is messed up. Not sure why. My camera seems to be doing just fine. There we go. Got me? You guys got me? Camera is fine. Lazy bed, man. maybe it's my face you guys are talking about. You're blurry. Maybe you need to wipe, maybe you need to clean your screen. No, it's not. All right. Look, I think it's very stressful. Like I just got out of jail doing some time. What's up, guys? What's up, Andrew Brown? What's up? I see you guys. You can tell it meant a lot to Medić. And that's my point. My point is when you get back to your hometown, and I was doing a sit in jail for about 6 months. I got out. I was already not signed by the UFC yet. Came back. I fought a couple kickboxing matches for Scott Coker and Strikeforce when it was a kickboxing organization. And to see all my family and my friends back in California after coming back and living there, and I did my time up in Idaho. When I got back down to California, it only took me about 3 weeks. I took a fight on literally like 3 weeks notice after doing 6 months in jail. Didn't really train for it, but I just was so excited to get in there and fight. And I took a kickboxing fight. And I gassed out after the first round. I put in a beating on somebody. And then I had to survive the next 2 rounds. Was able to get the win, but it wasn't pretty. Let me just tell you that. There's a lot of pressure that goes into representing your family, representing your country, representing, all the people that came out and supported you. This is even a bigger deal because he wasn't there. He'd only been there for a couple weeks. Said didn't really feel like home because he really couldn't enjoy, spending time with family and friends and making it feel like home because he's focused on the fight, which is 100% legit. I had traveled out to South Africa one time with Trevor Prangley, and we went out there 2 weeks before his fight. And he hadn't been home in, I want to say 3 or 4 years, maybe even longer. And that being said, he didn't get a chance to really enjoy being back home in South Africa. And so it wasn't until after the fight we were able to go travel, see the sights. Now, we weren't there to have fun. Obviously, the first 2 weeks we were there to get some training in, get acclimated to the area. But he even said, like, it's the sense of stress and relief that it's over, and I can actually now enjoy the time with my family for the next 2 weeks. We spent a month over in South Africa, and the first 2 weeks was there training, and the next 2 weeks was there with family and friends. And it's that pressure, that feeling of like you just can't, you won't understand until your family and your friends are there to watch you compete one-on-one, where you're literally going to get beat up. Someone's going to try to punch your face in. And the pressure of not just getting punched in the face, but the pressure of your family seeing you getting punched in the face. So when he was sitting there and he was just taking it all in, Medić, and I was thinking to myself, this is smart, man. Enjoy this moment right now because you may never get it again. You don't know if you're going to win your next fight that they have there. You don't know if you're going to win your next fight at all. And for you to do it right there where you have thousands and thousands of your countrymen and countrywomen living there or being there present, watching you fight. Man, I thought Uroš Medić looked absolutely fantastic. Now, we can get into the whole thing. Well, D-Rod was away for, 9 months, coming back. All of these things. I mean, it doesn't. I don't really think it would have mattered. I'm a big D-Rod fan. Just He's 39 years old. You know, he's obviously towards the end of his career. I still enjoy watching him fight. But when you have someone like Medić, who is a sniper on the feet, very fast, very technical, and D-Rod, I would expect D-Rod to come out and try to wrestle a little bit, make it a little bit more of a grimy fight, and try to get in there and get after it. I would expect something more like that. You know what I mean? So look, I think, you know what, we can, I believe someone was telling me that we can put users in timeout, right? I think I found the timeout button. This is fun. I like you guys, man. This is great. I love you guys. Prison food must have been great. It must have been garbage. Yeah, it was, man. I mean, it's the same thing, it's the same thing. Hey guys, I want to thank you guys all for continuing to support the pod, man. You guys have been loyal to me, and you guys continue to support me, and it's been fun, man. Uroš Medić looked good. He looked fast. He looked quick, very accurate with his straight left to the chin. He hit him with the right hook. I know it landed kind of like on the chest, a little bit more on the collarbone, and sat him down. I don't know. I don't know what I was expecting out of D-Rod. I thought he was going to try to work to the leg, try to get back up. You know, you're the main event. You've got to try to make sure you go out on your shield. I don't know. Maybe the first shot, that jab looked like it caught him right where the eye socket is. So that might have done some damage that we're not aware of. We'll find out more as time goes on. But yeah, we're going to find out, man. Overall, great performance by Uroš Medić. I mean, I didn't listen to the rest of the interview, post-fight interview, but did he call somebody out? If you guys know that answer, drop it in the comments, and we'll talk about it. But look, I think there's plenty of guys, in this weight class for him to fight. There's a lot of great stand-up guys, and there'd be a lot of fun fights for him. So I see, let me see. Let's take a look at these. Let's take a look at these rankings. Let's see who he would match up well against. Medić right now is at number 14. He just took number 13. That was D-Rod's spot. I mean, him and Mike Malott would be a fun fight. I don't know what they're doing with Mike Malott. Mike Malott's not a young fighter either. Good looking, has a whole country behind him. They might want to try to save Mike Malott because they only seem to fight Mike Malott in Canada. So, him, Kamaru Usman, I think is going to potentially stay at 185. And you got Joaquin Buckley. I mean, that's not a bad fight right there. You could potentially have him versus Joaquin Buckley. That might be a good fight. There's fights to be had, I think, for him that would make sense and have fun. I'm not sure. Has he fought? He has not. He has not fought Joaquin Buckley. I mean, that's a big step up in competition. I think that would be a very fun fight for us. But I think it'd be fun. I think if you got Malott and Buckley, I think someone just said, and there we go. And we're talking about Malott and Buckley. That makes sense. But I think if you take him, he's just come off the win over D-Rod, Jeff Neal, Salikov. Urbina looked good tonight, but that was at middleweight. So that was, where he beat Urbina 4 fights ago, or 3 fights ago, I should say, after today. So 4 fights ago. But overall, I thought great performance by him. Not much to take away. Literally, the fight was 30 seconds. So I'm not going to stretch this out too much and talk about something that, I can't make too much of it. Let's talk about D-Rod, though, a little bit. D-Rod himself, just the ups and downs of, spending time over in Mexico, in jail, gets done with his last fight over Kevin Holland, gets busted trying to cross the border, with marijuana, spends 9 months or 8 months in jail there, becomes like a bodyguard for one of the cartel bosses or members in there, and gets out and jumps right into a camp and gets ready to fight. I was expecting a more motivated, juvenated fighter, somebody that was going to come out, be overly aggressive because he was so excited to be back inside that cage. And I know that when I did my time, obviously in jail, I got out and I was thinking to myself, man, I missed this. I missed everything about this. And it made me train harder, it made me stay more focused, made me feel good to be back home. And from the moment of that first kickboxing match when I got out, I took another one as fast as I could. And then shortly after, I got signed by the UFC. So I had several different fights in between that process. So there was a lot of things that reinvigorate you. I think I would have expected that D-Rod would have been reinvigorated after spending 8 months in a Tijuana jail, by the way. Yeah. Look, I thought also too, the rest of the card was obviously fantastic. Normally what I do when I jump on here, I'll give you my reaction to I'll give my reaction to like the main card. But Navajo Sterling versus Yahlhovich. Give me what you guys' thoughts were on this fight. I saw a bunch of my buddies, people that I've got a lot of respect for inside the fight game, that put a lot of money down on Yahlhovich. Now, I don't know if that meant because they thought that Yahlhovich was just 43 years old but still had the power, and that Sterling looks so young. I think he's 28 years old, and they expected him to shit the bed. And I was thinking to myself, look, the longer this fights go, Yahlhovich's going to slow down, and I think that Navajo Sterling can start to take over. He didn't need to get outside the first round. I thought he fought a damn good fight at about 256, I think, in the first round, 250 or whatever in the first round. He was able to hit him with a beautiful shot, rocked him back. And what I love was he hit him with the shot. And you could tell it stoned him for a sec. What I mean by that is that Jan was like stuck in this position of like, I got hit, couldn't defend himself, and Sterling pushed him. And when he pushed him, he flew back, kind of landed to his back, and Sterling did a great job of not just running in and jumping in. What he did was he tracked after him, shuffled his feet after him to make sure that Jan didn't like snap back into it and throw an up kick or kind of sit up into a double leg, before he was able to get to him. So he tracked after them, and then he landed some big shots as he came in on the top, threw the leg to the side. What I loved was he took his time to get to the elbows. There was a lot of fights tonight that were stopped once the fighter went down and they started throwing punches. It wasn't until they started throwing the elbows that the referees started taking it seriously. And I've had this conversation with Big John McCarthy several times, and having conversation with other referees. They pay attention when shots are landing, but they don't really hunker down and get close to the action until you start throwing elbows, because they know it only takes one, maybe two elbows to fillet you open, cause cuts that could stop the fight, and just cause serious damage with the striking, with the boxing, or with the punches. You're not going to get that type of damage. You're going to very rarely get cuts with using the gloves. Once you start landing those elbows, you'll start seeing. Pay attention to this, you guys, next time you guys are watching fights. See how close that referee inserts himself into the fight. As he gets closer, see how close he gets to finishing that fight, how close he gets to stopping that fight. And so, it was one of those things. Navajo Sterling started landing the elbows, saw the first initial cut, I think, from the first to the second big elbow. And look, and I thought Jan looked good up until that moment. I wouldn't say he was having his way with Navajo Sterling, but I was saying, like, I had him winning on the round so far. And I know it was only one round. We're only 2 minutes in, but I had him winning the round, slightly ahead in the round. Nothing really significant had landed. I know he kind of wobbled Navajo and caught him off balance in the step in, all of those things, but I didn't give too much credit to that. You caught him stepping in, more of an off balance, kind of like sat him a little bit, and that was it. But Sterling hit him with a beautiful shot. And then on the shot, stoned him and then shoved him over and then tracked after him beautifully. Didn't rush to try to figure him out. And then he jumped right on him and started fitting him away. So I thought overall, Navajo Sterling looked very young, very composed, still a little inexperienced, made some mistakes, especially early. But I thought little small mistakes against a guy who is not 43 and a guy that is younger and up and coming, or a guy that's a little bit older with some more experience. Sterling would have struggled a little bit more. Look, his call-outs were tough fights. Khalil Roundtree is not an easy fight, and especially for Sterling's style, I don't know if I like that fight for him. And I definitely do not like the Paulo Costa fight for him. I don't like that fight at all. Sterling doesn't move his head enough offline. Sterling just kind of stays straight with his shot, stays straight with his head right in line, and he throws good shots, but he doesn't move his head offline. So that to me that's a big no-no when you're going to fight someone as explosive as Paulo Costa, and then somebody who has as much power as Khalil Roundtree. I don't like either one of those call-outs. Would have liked to have seen him call somebody else out. But look, at light heavyweight, let's take a look at those. Let's take a look at who's there. I mean, I don't like the Dominic Reyes fight for him yet either. Man, you could possibly, I don't know. I mean, he's going to end up jumping up quite a bit in the rankings. mean, do you kind of, because he is young, do you give him somebody like Alonzo Menafield, who's ranked just slightly behind Yahlhovich, but then he just beat Yahlhovich, who's a former champion? Do you run him up? Navajo Sterling right now is number 10. I mean, do you give him Guskov, or do you make him fight back a little bit because he needs a little bit more experience? I don't know, because if you put him against Mirzakhanov, or you put him against Dominic Reyes, Khalil Roundtree, I couldn't tell you, man. Those are all very, very tough fights for him. Very tough fights. I'm not sure if he gets those wins. Bogdan, Bogdan would have won even while injured. Missed opportunity right here. Look, Bogdan is one of those guys you could potentially have him fight him. I don't know. That's a fight possibly you could probably do. I don't know. That would probably be my only. That'd probably be my only fight for him. But that would be it. Sterling and Bogdan Guskov, I think, would have been the fight. I think anybody above that right now, I'm not sure I would want to fast track that. I would maybe have him fight back a little bit, probably against someone like an Alonzo Menafield. That's probably the best I could do. Maybe you give him Robert Whittaker. How about that fight? Maybe you give him a Robert Whittaker. Maybe he gets 2 wins over 2 former champions. So I don't know. I know that was the original booking. I get that, but why don't we get that? Oh, never mind. But yeah, we can have it. He's like, oh, never mind. There was obviously a lot of fighters right now are jumping from middleweight to 205, and a lot of fighters going from 205 to heavyweight. So I heard Menafield versus Iwo is booked, possibly. I haven't heard that yet. That's a good test though for Menafield. That's a good test for Iwo as well. But there's some good fights there. There's a lot of good fights to be had. I think what we're going to start seeing is the changing of the guard. The guys in 205 and the guys in heavyweight, they're going to start falling off. The ones that have been there for a long period of time. They're just the younger guys are going to start coming up and start putting some pressure on them. And the UFC, I think, is kind of realizing that those weight classes are stagnant. So what can we do? And I think that's why they're allowing guys like Robert Whittaker and Paulo Costa to go to 205, because that historically was the weight class that kept the organization going. That historically was 205 was Chuck Liddell, Tito Ortiz. Frank Shamrock was the very first 200 pounder, I think is what it was, or 205 pounder. He was the very first champ there. So you have Frank Shamrock, then Tito. Then you had, Tito, and then I think it went Randy after Tito. And then it went Chuck after that, and then Chuck again, and then Chuck was there for a while. And then, yeah, man, I can't remember who beat Chuck. Chuck lost to, I think, Rampage. This is who he lost to. And then the belt changed hands multiple times after that. It just continuously changed hands. I think that I like seeing these guys jump from weight class to weight class right now because it kind of spruces things up, and then you got Rakic right now going to heavyweight. I love this move for him. I think he's gonna have to put on a little bit more size, a tiny bit, not much, maybe like 4 pounds, maybe 5 pounds. That's about it. I'd like to see him fight instead of at 237.5. I'd like to see him around 242, somewhere in there. Keep the speed. Build a little bit more physical strength to move those big bodies around. And I think that'll come once he starts training with more heavyweights. That'll come. He just can't afford to get lazy. He's got to keep that speed and that lateral movement. He's got to be that guy. So I think Alexander Rakic, I think this is where he belongs. I also feel like him cutting down to 205 has really affected his chin. He took some shots tonight. Maybe it kind of hurt him a little bit. Maybe it didn't really show it all that much. So I enjoyed watching Rakic against Tybura tonight. Tybura just didn't have the speed to catch him. Tybura was chasing him around the cage, trying to get after him, trying to put pressure. And then he finally was like, look, I'm tired of chasing you. I've got to step back, see if you'll come to me. And that's even harder to do because you want to try to catch him coming in, but you're not fast enough to catch him coming in. So Rakic looked good. The kicks look good. The hand speed looked good. The physical strength looked good in the beginning. I think he's got to slow down. He's going to have to put a little bit of weight on, like I said, to kind of get comfortable moving those big body guys around. And Marcin Tybura is a big guy. He's a big heavyweight as well. Tall, kind of long, lanky, not the easiest guy to deal with, kind of lumbers around. Those guys are not easy to fight because when you hit them, they don't move really. Like even when you hit them with a clean shot, they don't move back very far, and then they're right there in your face again, ready to put pressure. It's almost like they don't respect your power and they don't respect you at all, so they can just keep walking forward. And that's a lot of how Marcin Tybura has got wins. He's literally people have punched themselves out on his face, and they've exhausted themselves trying to get him out of there. And he's been able to just put pressure and get back on him, and then eventually either knock them out or get to the top position and finish them. So I thought Valentin looked good over Dusko. Look, I thought it was a great little grappling match back and forth, which was actually kind of caught me by surprise that Valentin jumped on him and gave Dusko the chance really to kind of like get his wits back about him. I would have loved to have seen Valentin take a step back, let them get back after it on the feet, because it looked like Valentin he was the better, faster, cleaner striker. And Dusko just was able to kind of get into the ground, or they kind of got, in the exchange, got to the ground, and then Dusko was showing some good stuff on the ground, able to sweep him, and then Valentin was able to sweep him back. I thought it was good little grappling back and forth, and eventually ended up catching that choke, in the transition, throwing the leg over the shoulder, and was able to get that deep choke. So overall, I thought that was a good fight as well. And there were so many good fights on this fight. Gilbert Urbina, middleweight. Going from 170, going up to middleweight. Look, when you can afford, it's different when you're 125, 135, 145, 155, right? That's all great. But when you jump 15 pounds from 55 to say 70, that makes a difference. From 70 to 85, that makes a difference. Those are 15 pounds is a lot. And then when you start thinking about, you get into 185 to 205, which is 20 pounds. That's a lot of extra weight you're having to carry that maybe your body's not used to, or that you think your body's used to carrying, but you actually haven't built the muscle to fill that out enough to actually compete with the guys that have been competing at 205 or competing at 170 or 185. And so when I look at this fight, man, I thought Urbina looked very good, great shots. Another scenario and situation where elbows play a huge factor on how fast the referee stops it. And so when the referee, when you see a fighter posture up and start getting ready to throw elbows, and the referee starts inching his way a little bit closer and a little bit closer, and this was that exact example. You saw Urbina get in there, and Chepo was just like getting hit with some big shots, and I was all right, this is one of those things where the referee just realized, hey, this is gone too far. There was a little bit of back and forth, I think, with Biz being on this stoppage and stuff. But I do like right here, Strong Chiba. I like your little matchmaking right here. I'd like to see Rakic versus Saracom. Saracom is a damn good kickboxer. He's a little bit bigger of a heavyweight as well. He's not small. But Rakic is not a small, like in terms of height, but that would be a very fun fight. I would actually lean more towards Saracom in this fight. I think he would probably get it done, but I still think it would be a damn good fight. I'd love to see that fight. That would be a damn good fight. Instead of Abu Dhabi, Qatar, and Saudi Arabia, they should do events in Balkan and countries, Serbia, Croatia, Montenegro. I would agree with you. But you have to remember, in Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Dubai, Qatar, and Saudi, they're paying for them to come there. Whereas, a lot of these deals right now have to be made with the governments, and the governments have to see how much it's really worth for them to come back and forth every year. Saudi Arabia and Qatar and those countries, they prefer they come, once or twice a year easily. And they'll spread it out. Abu Dhabi will pay, Dubai will pay, Qatar will pay, Saudi Arabia, Riyadh, those places will pay. They'll pay to have once, twice a year, and they'll spread it out throughout the countries there. So then they can have the fighters, that they want to see fight in those areas. Serbia crowd was great. I thought the crowd was absolutely amazing. I've heard it's one of the more beautiful places to go. Same thing with Croatia. I've heard so many good things about Croatia. I actually added Croatia to my bucket list. I've got Switzerland. I've got Croatia. I want to go to Norway as well. Austria. Those are like my bucket list ones that I haven't scratched off yet that I'd like to go to. So definitely one of those that I'd like to go to. Hey guys, drop me any questions you guys may have, but I'm going to wrap this thing up here pretty soon. D-Raw was a victim, plain and simple. He was never winning shit. The fight was not long. I think it was 33 seconds. So yeah, he wasn't winning at all. But it was 30 seconds. So to say he was a victim. I mean, he put himself out there. He had a nice little inside leg kick, kind of put Uroš to his knees, but hopped right back up, got back after it. I thought overall I thought it was a good fight, good night of fights. And you know, I kind of enjoy the fact that these fights are during the day. I'm sure some of you guys do as well. It's nice to be able to watch the fights, you know, at 9 a.m. Then, you know, you get the noon fights for the main card, and then you're done by, what is it for me right now? I'm in Central Time, so it's 3 o'clock. You know, I get to film, I get to do this, and we get to have some fun. So, hey guys, I'm gonna do a full recap of the card with Big Ange. Probably not tomorrow morning, but it'll probably be tomorrow afternoon. So hit that bell for notifications. And I want to thank you guys, man, for continue to support the pod, man. You guys have been absolutely amazing. Also, Big John McCarthy and I will be back together on Monday night. We're going to jump on and we're going to talk about my experience taking the command class to become a referee and a judge under Big John and his son, Ron McCarthy. So I took that 2 weekends ago in Las Vegas. Thought it was a fantastic event. It was a weekend. It was a weekend long from Friday, Saturday, Sunday clinic that you go through. I did the testing on Sunday. I thought it was fantastic, man. Very well run. So if you guys are interested in becoming referees, you guys are interested in becoming judges, maybe you guys should think about taking Big John's command class. And I think it's MMAreferee.com. You guys can check it out. MMAreferee.com. You guys can check that out. And of course, my man, look at these guys right here. Dangerous Mouse 9348. Doing Lazy Bed's work right there. Drink Element, use that link below in the descriptions. If you haven't, check that out. They'll send you a free package with every purchase. I use it because of the magnesium. It helps me sleep at night. Also, too, it's 105 degrees today in Texas, in North Texas. So it has been, you rascally mouse, Lazy Bed says. I love it. I love their battling over showing support for the show, man. I really do appreciate it. You guys are awesome. And it's been wonderful, man. So, hey, guys, you guys don't know enough. Let's go ahead and keep the ball rolling. Until next time, guys. And I'm going to finish you guys off with this. Saturday mornings used to mean coffee and sidelines. Now it's game time for all of us. We're running drills, chasing goals, and yeah, trying to keep up with each other. Soccer, lacrosse, doesn't matter. What matters is we're doing it together. But here's the thing I didn't expect. Training with your kids, it hits different. You sweat more, you push harder. If you're not careful, you could burn yourself out. That's why I started bringing Element. No sugar, no junk, just electrolytes. Sodium, potassium, magnesium. So you can stay sharp, stay moving, and stay in the game. Because when your kids look over and say, "Come on, Dad, keep up," you don't want to sit this one out. You want to be right there with them. Hydration isn't just about performance. It's about showing up. For them, for yourself, for moments like this. Element.
Stay salty.
Stay salty, my friends. Until